you a question?
Of course you may.
What do you think about the Sedevacantism movement in the church, in the Catholic Church?
Okay, what do I think about Sedevacantism? Well, just to explain, Sedevacantism, as you know, of course, is the idea that sede, the seat, is vacante, vacant. That is the Pope. The Pope's seat does not have an occupant. Different Sedevacantists have different views. Like some would say, well, it's Francis who's not Pope. Others go back to say John the 23rd not being Pope and all his successors not being Pope. Others go back to the Middle Ages. There are some. So if one wants to hold that position, it is very tricky to work out where one should start to say that there's been no Pope from. But I'd say this, the most common version of it, as I understand it, is that there's been no Pope since the death of Pope Pius XII in 1958. My difficulty with that is that in 1958, all the cardinals had been appointed either by Pius XII or Pius IX, possibly his predecessor, Pius XII, Pius XI, possibly his predecessor Benedict XV, probably not any of under Pius X, they're probably all dead by then. But all these men were true cardinals, by the Sedevacantist position. So when they had a conclave, it is said by some, well, white smoke went up. And that went up for a while, for a minute or so, and then it went grey, which is, white smoke is a sign we have a pope, grey is a sign we don't. So we're going to have another gathering. So they're saying, somebody was elected, but then he was possibly Cardinal Siri, they say, and perhaps he was pressurised by those who were agents of the communists to actually give up under threat. And then they elected John the 23rd. Even if that was so, and Cardinal Siri never said this had happened, even if it were true though, still John the 23rd was elected by the cardinals who were there, and so one has to say to me, he was a properly elected pope. If one wants to say though, he was a heretic, because one could say you're a pope, properly elected, and then you wake up one morning and say, gosh, you know what? I think I believe in the Hindu gods. Then of course he ceased to be a Catholic, so he ceases to be pope. St. Robert Bellarmine said this in the early modern period. But it's very hard to pin down something direct and clear in John the 23rd. I mean, I know he was held under suspicion by the Holy Office before Pius XII died, but that's quite different from saying he's a heretic. So,
sorry, what time period was this? I'm a dunce.
Pius XII dies in 1958. Yeah, and it's after that period that you get the controversy as to whether we've got a valid pope or not. But if John the 23rd...
Was that during Vatican II?
No, this is before, just before now. Okay. So John the 23rd is elected, and that's where we start getting the controversy today about whether he was a pope or not. But I think he must have been a pope, because he was elected by men who were Sedevacantists would say were cardinals. Thus, and also the question of the white smoke and the grey smoke, that is extremely unclear, as to whether, what that signifies, what it means. It can't tell us anything about what was going on in the conclave itself. So we have to accept John the 23rd as being validly elected. So if he's validly elected, he calls the council, the Second Vatican Council, and that's a valid council, because it's called with all legal forms, and then all its decrees are validated by John the 23rd's successor, Paul VI. Now Paul VI, if one says he's not a valid pope, one has to deal with the fact that most of the cardinals who elected John the 23rd were still alive when Paul VI was elected, because Pius XII dies in 1958. John the 23rd dies on June the 3rd, 1963. Pope Paul is elected later in 1963. So only 5 years after Pius XII died. So most of the cardinals are going to be valid cardinals by a Sedevacantist viewpoint. So I cannot see how they could say that Paul VI is not a true pope. He validated the council, therefore to me the Second Vatican Council must be valid. And so I have a great difficulty, that's just taken two, and if I was to go through it all, it's basically showing that I find it difficult to justify the idea that the Sedevacantist position is. Yeah. Now that doesn't mean that we can't talk about problems that have arisen in the church